Well, I'm happy to say we're joined live in the programme now by geostrategic issues expert Javed Rana for his take on this. Good to see you, Javed. This is, of course, more than just a local issue, isn't it? Both Pakistan, India, they're nuclear powers. How worrying is that warning from the Indian Defence Ministry in your eyes?
From Pakistan perspective, it is not worrying, but it should be worrying from the perspective of the international community, because in a broader picture, whenever there is a war between two countries and whenever the situation arises where one particular country can use a nuclear weapon, they are not going to consider the option that, since they had a declared policy to have no first use, I think that option would not be there. It depends on to the situation. And I think what Indian Defence Minister has that point is also equally applicable onto Pakistan. The point I'm trying to make is that the scene is very clear. What is the most likely scenario in South Asia? Whenever there is a bigger terrorist attack inside the Indian disputed Kashmir region, if there are suicide attacks, within minutes, Indian government blames Pakistan that this was sponsored by Islamabad. And then we find a military buildup on the borders. And then just in February last, there was aerial skirmishes. Indian had violated Pakistan's airspace, and then there was a strong retaliation from Pakistan.
So you don't think there's any truth in those accusations at all, that India has, as you said, accuses Pakistan of sending terrorists into Kashmir and says that its recent changes to the autonomy of the region were made primarily for protective purposes? You don't see any evidence of that?
India has deployed 900,000 military and paramilitary troops inside Indian disputed Kashmir region, which means the 90% Indian military, almost 90%, they are deployed to control 14 million Kashmiri, which means at least 9 to 10 Kashmiri, they have one Indian army soldier standing in the streets. So for last almost 12 to 13 days, there is a curfew. It's a complete clampdown. In this situation, obviously, there is going to be a reaction from the population. The youngsters, their policies are making them suicide bombers. They don't need to ask Pakistan. They don't need to seek Pakistan's permission. And I foresee there is a possibility of a major attack on Indian security forces, because people over there feel frustrated. People are being starved. They don't have access to the medicine. They don't have access to the food. In this situation, obviously, they are going to generate suicide bombers. So, and then the shift is blame is going to be shifted onto Pakistan. I think this is very unrealistic on the part of India. Whenever there is a situation like this, they blame Pakistan.
Okay, just about talks. Let's just get into talks briefly, Javed, because both India and Pakistan have called for dialogue, but then we have this flurry of furious accusations. Is dialogue realistic with so much anger evident right now?
Well, India has torn apart all the bilateral agreements and the 17 UN Security Council resolutions which call for the plebiscite on Kashmir. So when India has left no room for the dialogue, for what they are going to be talk on Kashmir, they have already forcibly annexed it. No international community. There are the so-called superpowers, the countries yielding superpowers, they are not ready to intervene. And naturally, what Pakistan's president, just 2 days back, he made a statement. He said that in case the international community does not intervene, that means there is a possibility of war, and the spillover effects of that war would be spread all over the world. That was underlying real threat to the world, that the international community, the entire world is going to face the music of the radiations, if God forbid, if there is a nuclear war. But if international community does not intervene, they see India as a big market, and that is why they don't want to jeopardize their relation with them. And that is why the world politics is being driven by the hard economic realities and not by the morality. Going by all the legal case and moral principle, there has to be a plebiscite, and no one is concentrating on that issue.
Javed, thank you very much for your time and your thoughts. This, our geostrategic issues expert, live in Islamabad, Javed Rana.